You see, one of the biggest traps we fall into in life is assuming that if something is delayed, it's being denied. That if it hasn't happened yet, maybe it's not meant to be. But that's not how life or faith works. Delay isn't denial. Delay is development. It's the space between the seed being planted and the harvest arriving. And that space, that gap, that's where you're being refined. We live in a world that celebrates speed. Fast results, instant access, overnight success. But real transformation, real purpose, real breakthroughs, those things take time. They demand pressure, heat, struggle. Because here's the truth. Diamonds don't form in comfort. Gold doesn't come out of the earth shining. It has to go through the fire, be purified, be broken down to its essence, before it becomes what it was always meant to be. And you are no different. Some of you are in a waiting season right now. You're doing the work, you're showing up. You're praying, you're striving, you're growing, and still the thing you want most hasn't arrived, and you're asking, why not me, why not now? But let me ask you this. What if the thing you're waiting for is being delayed not because you're unworthy, but because you're not quite ready yet? Not in a way that means you're failing, but in a way that means you're being made ready for something bigger than you can see. Sometimes the delay is the gift. It's the unseen preparation. It's the moment when the universe is aligning everything, not just externally, but internally. Because the truth is, you might not be ready to receive what you're asking for, not because you're not talented or passionate or driven, but because the version of you today can't carry the weight of that dream yet. If everything happened when you asked for it, without the struggle, without the pause, you'd never discover your resilience. You'd never learn how to stay grounded when things don't go your way. And you'd never develop the wisdom required to hold what you've been given once it finally arrives. We've all been in situations where we look back and say, I'm so glad that didn't happen when I wanted it to. At the time, it felt like the end of the world. But in hindsight, you realize you would have settled for something so much smaller than what you were truly meant for. And that's what refinement is. It's the fire that forges your character. It's the storm that builds your strength. It's the tension that reveals your truth. If you're in that place now, wondering why the breakthrough hasn't come, I want you to stop seeing this delay as a punishment. Stop telling yourself you're being overlooked. You're not. You're being overbuilt. You're being equipped. You're being molded into the person who doesn't just receive blessings, but who knows what to do with them. Think about this. If your dream requires patience, discipline, empathy, clarity, don't you think you'd be given time to build those traits? Otherwise, what happens? You get the success, the relationship, the opportunity, and it crumbles because the foundation wasn't strong enough. The delay is the time when your foundation is being poured, quietly, invisibly, deep underground, and listen, the people around you might not see it. They might not understand your waiting season. They might think you're stuck or lost or confused, but you know better. Because when you're being refined, it doesn't always look flashy. It doesn't make noise, but it's powerful. It's transformational. What separates those who thrive from those who quit isn't talent or timing. It's trust. Trust in the process. Trust that this delay is not a detour. It's divine direction. You're not being stalled. You're being seasoned. And when the moment comes, when the opportunity finally aligns, you won't just step into it. You'll own it. Not because it came easy, but because you were forged in the fire for it. You're not waiting because you're not worthy. You're waiting because you're being readied. You ever have one of those moments where a door slams shut in your face, and it feels like everything you were working toward just slipped through your fingers? Maybe it was a job you thought was yours, a relationship you believed would last forever, a business deal you were certain would change your life. And then, boom, it's gone, and in that moment it feels like failure, it feels personal, it feels final. But it's not that closed door, it's not the end, it's redirection. What we don't always realize is that life isn't always giving us what we want, it's giving us what we need. And sometimes the doors that close on us are the very things that keep us from settling. If every door opened when you knocked, you'd walk through the wrong ones just because they were easy. But life, God, the universe, whatever you believe, is too intentional for that. You're being steered, not stopped. See, the door that didn't open wasn't a mistake. It was mercy. It was protection. Because not every opportunity is meant to be yours. Not every connection is aligned with your future. And sometimes the greatest growth comes not from the path you walked, but from the one you were blocked from walking. I know how tempting it is to take those moments and start doubting yourself. You think, if I was good enough, they would have said yes. Or if I was ready, this wouldn't have fallen apart. But the truth is, that door closing might have saved you from a situation that would have drained your spirit, stolen your peace, or limited your growth. That no wasn't rejection, it was redirection. It was a higher form of love, one that doesn't just give you what you want, but holds back what will hold you back. It's human nature to want certainty. We crave it. We want to know that our plans will work, that our vision will unfold exactly the way we see it. But if your plan is smaller than your potential, then you better hope the door closes. Because you weren't made for average. You weren't made for a predictable, limited life. You were made for something bigger. And sometimes, the only way to push you there is to block the path that feels familiar, so you're forced to discover a new one. How many times have you looked back and thought, thank God that didn't work out? In the moment, it felt like devastation. But later, you realized it was the best thing that could have happened. That failed job interview, it pushed you to start your own business. That breakup, it led you to rediscover who you were and meet someone better aligned with your values. That opportunity you missed, it created space for something even more powerful to arrive. We don't always see the bigger picture when we're standing in the middle of the storm. We just feel the wind and the loss. But when you zoom out, you start to understand that every closed door has a purpose. It's not about the door itself. It's about the path it's guiding you toward. Every time you feel stuck, blocked, or rejected, it's a chance to pause and ask, what else is trying to emerge here? What's waiting for me that I wouldn't have noticed if this had gone my way? You're not being punished when something doesn't go your way. You're being positioned. Life is strategic like that. It's pruning what doesn't belong. It's removing what won't serve you long term, and yes, it's painful. Yes, it's confusing, but you don't grow through ease. You grow through resistance. You grow through redirection. When a door closes, most people either freeze or force. They freeze in fear or they force it open. But there's a third path, faith. Trusting that the right doors will open when you're ready. Trusting that if something didn't work out, it wasn't the end of your story. It was just a chapter. A necessary one, a painful one, but one that's leading you to the breakthrough you couldn't imagine yet. You are not defined by the doors that close on you. You're defined by how you respond. Do you crumble? Do you quit? Or do you rise with more clarity, more hunger, more belief in something greater? So when that door shuts, don't panic. Don't plead, don't push where you're not meant to go. Instead, pause, breathe, and say, okay, this isn't the way, but that only means there's a better way. And that better way is already unfolding. Let's talk about the space between where you are and where you want to be, the space where nothing seems to be happening. The waiting, the silence, that space, it's not empty, it's not wasted. It's the most important part of your journey. I get it. Waiting feels like doing nothing. It feels like being stuck, like spinning your wheels, like being forgotten. But let me tell you something that'll shift your entire mindset. Growth doesn't happen when everything is moving fast. Growth happens when everything slows down, when it's quiet, when the results aren't instant. That's when you develop something far more powerful than skills. You develop depth. We're conditioned to believe that progress is only what we can see. A new job title, a bigger paycheck, a new relationship, external wins. But some of the most powerful progress happens beneath the surface. It happens in the moments nobody claps for, the late nights you spend working on yourself, the mornings you get up and keep going even though nothing's changed, the times you choose patience over panic, alignment over approval, discipline over distraction. You see, while you're waiting, you're becoming. You're becoming the kind of person who can carry the weight of the dream, because here's the hard truth. Your dream isn't just about having something. It's about being someone. If the thing you want most landed in your lap today, would you be able to sustain it? Could you hold it without it breaking you? Could you lead it, love it, grow it without losing yourself? Most people rush toward the reward, but they skip the development. They want the stage, but not the silence. But the silence is sacred. It's the place where your identity is built, where your inner voice grows louder than the noise around you, where your convictions solidify. That's where your spirit becomes unshakable. Think about nature. You plant a seed in the ground, and for weeks, maybe months, you see nothing. No sign of life. No movement, but under the soil, roots are growing, strength is forming, and when that seed finally breaks through the surface, it's not fragile, it's ready. The waiting season isn't passive, it's active surrender. It's choosing to believe in what you can't yet see. That's what faith looks like. Some of you are in that exact space right now. You're showing up. You're doing the work, but it feels like you're invisible, and that can be exhausting. But I promise you, you're not invisible. You're incubating, you're evolving, and what's happening inside of you is more powerful than anything the world can measure. This is where emotional muscles are built, the patience muscle, the discipline muscle, the trust muscle. These are the traits that prepare you for longevity, not just achievement. Anyone can get a win, but can you maintain the win? Can you still lead when it gets hard? Can you still serve when it's not easy? Can you still love when it's inconvenient? The waiting season teaches you how to stand firm even when everything is uncertain. And that's the kind of strength that doesn't just take you to the top. It keeps you there. You won't need to pretend, you won't need to beg, you won't need to prove anything to anyone, because you'll know deep in your bones that what's meant for you will arrive, and when it does, you'll meet it as the strongest, clearest, most aligned version of yourself. And I want you to hear this. Your worth is not on hold just because your dream is. You are not less valuable because you're still in process. You're not behind, you're not late, you're not forgotten, you're becoming, you're rising, you're being equipped with a level of resilience and depth that people who rush never develop. This is where legends are born, in the shadows, in the preparation, when no one is watching, when no one's clapping. When it's just you and your belief, you and your discipline, you and your vision. And if you can hold on to that, if you can stay committed when nothing external is changing, that's when something internal transforms. You don't need signs every day to know it's working. You need to decide that it's working. Decide to trust. Decide to keep building. Decide to stay faithful even in the dark, because the waiting isn't holding you back. It's holding you together. It's building the version of you who can finally receive what's on the other side of it all. So don't curse the waiting, don't resist it, use it, embrace it, because who you become while you wait, that's the real win. You know what's easy, believing when things are going your way. When the money's flowing, the doors are opening, people are cheering, everything's clicking. That's not hard, that doesn't require faith, that's confirmation, that's comfort. But what about when it isn't going your way? When the plan falls apart, when the opportunity disappears, when the silence stretches on and you're left wondering if anything is even working behind the scenes? That's when you find out what you really believe. That's when you discover what faith actually is. Faith isn't just about believing in something bigger. It's about trusting the timing of that bigger thing when everything around you says, give up. Real faith is trusting a timeline you can't see. It's walking through life knowing that just because something hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean it's not going to. That kind of trust, it's not soft. It's not passive, it's strong, it's defiant. It says, I don't need the evidence right now. I'll keep showing up anyway. You want to know why most people give up right before their breakthrough? Because they start to believe that the silence means failure, that the delay means denial, that if it hasn't happened yet, it never will. But that's not how this works. Life is not a vending machine. You don't put in effort and get a guaranteed outcome in the next 5 seconds. Life is an unfolding story. It takes time, pressure, and alignment. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're supposed to be, even if it doesn't feel like it. And I know that's hard to accept when the people around you seem to be moving faster, winning bigger, doing more. But comparison kills timing. You're not here to live their journey. You're here to walk yours, and your timeline doesn't need to match theirs to be valid. Every one of us has been in that place where we feel like we're doing everything right, but nothing's changing. And we start asking questions. What's the point? Is this ever going to work? Am I wasting my time? That's the battle. Not just external struggle, but internal surrender. The part where you release your grip on how and when things should happen and start trusting that they will happen at the right time. I'm not saying you don't take action. I'm not saying you just sit back and wait. I'm saying you give everything you've got, your energy, your passion, your focus, and then you release the outcome. You stop trying to force life into your schedule and instead align yourself with a bigger one. That's what separates the people who survive from the people who soar. Because here's the truth. When you're chasing a vision that's meant for you, it's not going to come cheap. It's going to test your patience. It's going to stretch your faith. It's going to challenge how much you really trust what you say you believe. And that's not a bad thing. That's the refining. That's the sharpening. That's how you become the kind of person who doesn't just reach the goal, but embodies it. If you could see how everything was going to play out, the timing, the connections, the breakthroughs, you wouldn't need faith. But the reason you don't get to see it all is because faith is what develops your inner strength. It's what keeps you grounded when the winds of doubt start to blow. It's what anchors you when the world gets noisy and confusing. And the people who thrive long term, the people who live with power, with peace, with purpose, they're not the ones who had everything handed to them. They're the ones who kept walking when it didn't make sense, who kept giving when they weren't getting, who trusted that just because it wasn't visible didn't mean it wasn't happening. You don't need to have it all figured out to move forward. You just need to know the next step and then trust that the rest will unfold step by step, brick by brick, moment by moment. That's how mountains move. So if you're in that place right now, If you're waiting, wondering, questioning, I want you to hear this. Just because you can't see the plan doesn't mean the plan isn't working. Just because it feels delayed doesn't mean it's denied.